Hi everybody. So today we're going to be learning about EQ, equalization. And that is the manipulation of frequencies across any sound. Okay. Now every sound has a different frequency range. And a good mix is going to balance all of those frequency ranges together so it's one nice cohesive mix. Now, there are strange frequencies that we often want to cut. So when I'm talking about the EQ process, I'm usually going to be talking about subtractive EQ, which means getting rid of unwanted frequencies. Okay, so let's start with our music bus. And we just went through the music bus and I added a nice EQ, and I talked briefly about it in the last video. So if I go to my main chords, I'm going to add a Pro EQ, and we're going to just review what this is and how it works. Okay, so this is, we'll go step by step. Here is your frequency range from 20 to 20,000 hertz. LC. LC means low cut. We always want to cut low frequencies out because they sometimes will trickle in and you can't even hear them, but what they do is just muddle the frequency ranges of all the tracks being played together. And if you've got bass and drums, and especially kick, which most songs do, these ranges, you don't want them to conflict. So they have a dedicated LC low cut. You can look at how steep or how unsteep you want your cuts. That's what this is going to show you. All right, right now this is at 75 hertz. Let me zoom in on this. Okay, we're just going to go through this EQ one step at a time. This dictates the frequency that I'm actually cutting from here and below. All right, so this is a music channel, so I probably want to cut about everything under 300. I do not want it too steep. I think 12 dB an octave is probably a good classification. You can see what that's going to look like, and you can adjust it as needed. Now, it is valuable and important to see your signal and your frequency while you're actually doing this process. So let me go ahead and open up this particular channel, which I actually need to move this over, and I'll only solo this particular channel. Okay, so I'm gonna move my Pro Q before the fat channel. Okay, and then right here you can see the frequency ranges. LF is low frequencies. If I turn this one on, you can see that this is where it is located. It'll pop it up about 100. 10 hertz, it'll show you right here. This is gaining or reducing, and the Q is how wide or narrow a cut we want to make. The higher the Q, the more narrow it is. And you can see that we can control this both here and here. I can actually just grab that and move it, or I can come down here and I can move it as well. All right, so this means dynamic and this is solo. We're not going to get in too much in depth into what the dynamic is, but that's literally compressing and EQing at the same time. Okay, the next is LMF, low mid frequency, and everything just goes in order. So right here is about low mid frequency, which we usually want to cut out everything in between 200 to 500, and 344 is within that. Maybe make this a little bit narrow. What we're doing is sculpting. We're sculpting in little increments each of these frequency ranges and bands. MF is mid frequency. All right, this is the singer's frequency. This is probably the most important frequency in terms of a range of different instruments that play it. And our human hearing is very sensitive to this range as well. All right, so if I turn that on, and now this is where I'm going to listen to my frequencies. And I can see that I have most of this particular sound is going to be in this range. That's just whatever this sound is. You can see exactly how a low cut can cut out frequencies. Since I have nothing underneath this particular section, I don't need to have any frequencies even available. There's also a high cut, which will trim out some of those highs as well. This is subtractive EQ, and I like to go through each of these different tracks and use my Pro EQ. And let's just say if that's too intimidating for you, open up the Fat Channel, go to your EQs, and find one that sounds good on your track. There's nothing wrong with doing that at all either. So, you know what, I'm just going to try that for this next track, which is a chords track. And that one is right here, so I'm just going to solo that so I can show you what that's going to sound like. Okay, so let's just try a preset. Something that's similar. Look at synthesizer. Do you notice the difference? It sounds great already. Just by doing that, that's all I need to do. Before, after. I just use a preset. They're great presets already from some really great stock plugins. All right, so I want you to go through every single track, and you can use the Fat Channel, or you can add your own Pro Q as well, or a combination of the two. There's no right or wrong way to do these. So that is our session on EQ. That is our session on EQ.